Thank you, Mark, and a big hello from London. So we have some interesting, and I suppose in a couple of cases disturbing, weekly patterns this past week, as we had both the weekly technical patterns for last week as well as the monthly technical patterns for November. If I start with the weekly patterns first and look at the currencies, and we had weekly key reversals up in Aussie dollar and Kiwi dollar. Both of these had an immediate countering action lower this week, the main difference being the Aussie dollar has already pushed down below last week's range, whilst the Kiwi dollar, well, we are still within last week's range. Then we had the US dollar CNY, the onshore Chinese yuan, the 1 month NDF for that, which had a weekly key reversal down last week. It was the only one of the Chinese currency pairings, NDF or otherwise, to have such a weekly pattern. And this week, well, this week it also suffered from the same situation as the Aussie and Kiwi dollar in having an immediate countering action, pushing above last week's high yesterday, though today we have come back within last week's range. This one may take a little longer to watch. However, we did have some interesting currency pairings that did find follow-through moves this week in the US dollar Turkish lira and in the US dollar Colombian peso, and a very interesting one in US dollar Indian rupee. Here we not only had a weekly key reversal up last week, but a rare compound weekly key reversal up, where last week's weekly key reversal up occurred immediately after the previous week's weekly key reversal up. This doubling pattern is not very rare, but it occurs infrequently, such that it is worth noting. This week, well, this week we have seen a suitable follow-on higher to new highs not seen before. We also saw weekly key reversals down in the French CAC40 futures and in the Nikkei stock index in Japan. Both of these have seen strong countering moves higher this week, pushing up and outside last week's range. Let's now look at the monthly technical patterns for November. And in the currencies, we had monthly key reversals down in Euro Swiss and in Aussie dollar against Japanese yen. Now, bearing in mind that these are longer term patterns here, the reaction this week for Euro Swiss has been nothing. No follow through lower, nor reaction higher. However, in Aussie dollar against the Japanese yen, we have seen a follow-on lower, a quite considerable follow-on lower, as prices start now looking at the September lows between 93.5 to 94.5. Looking at the financials, and we had a monthly key reversal up in the Dow Jones index itself, an index that has seen its fair share of weekly technical patterns in the past. This monthly key reversal up, coming as it has done at the top of the market, is a bit disturbing. And we have not as yet seen any follow through to it, but it's a longer term pattern, so please bear that in mind. It is still disturbing to see such a pattern at the top of a market. You'll see what I mean shortly. I'll now move on to the commodities, which were the majority of monthly patterns and perhaps the most disturbing of all the monthly patterns. We had monthly key reversals up in New York coffee futures and also London coffee futures. The immediate reaction to these patterns, coming as they did right at the highs of the market, has been a strong reactionary countering move lower, especially in London coffee, back below last week and the week before's lows. I discussed this more fully in my weekly coffee technical analysis video commentary, published this past Monday, hence my caution over the Dow Jones index. Elsewhere, we had a monthly key reversal down in LME 3-month aluminium in November, which has not seen any follow-on lower as yet, and only a small move higher this week. I delved into this market more fully yesterday in my LME Metals weekly video commentary, where I discussed the overall longer-term bullish pressures seen here in a market that then created a longer-term bearish sign, but only last month. We also had monthly key reversals down in Chicago soybean oil futures and ICE Winnipeg canola futures in November. In soybean oil, we have seen no real movement, neither higher nor lower. And in Winnipeg canola, a limited reactionary move higher. Now, I think it is well known that I have looked at the Winnipeg contract in the past as sometimes a leader in the oil seeds and veg oils, and I'm paying close attention to what may or may not happen there now. I will cover both of these markets in my video commentaries tomorrow. There is one final category left, and that was a monthly key reversal up last month in the Baltic Clean Tanker Index. So far, and it is still early days, but so far we have seen a reactionary continuation from the short-term move lower seen from the middle of last week till now, rather than a support of what was a larger, longer-term bullish pattern. As always, I'm happy to answer any direct questions with anyone who's interested, and with that I'll finish this section from London, and I hope that you found these comments useful.
Thank you for listening. This weekly broadcast gives the essential market patterns and consequences. Please be aware of the risk disclaimer posted both at the front and at the back of this broadcast. Copyright is Eddie Topic and ADM Investor Service International Limited. And here comes the final important bit.